All right, so today we're gonna dive into this artist Bob Camblin.
Okay. Yeah.
He's got a pretty interesting story from what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm excited to hear your take on his art and his writing.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, I just wrapped up reading his book, Zen and the Art of Enlightenment, and
Okay.
I've got to say, I found it pretty thought-provoking.
Yeah, and we've got some of his quotes here.
Right.
Looks like kind of pulled from various sources.
Yeah, and a pretty detailed biography,
Oh yeah.
which is going to help to give us some context, I think.
Right. Exactly. Like who was
Yeah.
this guy, and like how did he end up the way he did?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how did he arrive at these ideas?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And what can we learn from him? Right. Like that's always the question.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Well, he was born in Oklahoma in 1928
Okay.
during the oil boom,
Interesting.
which kind of makes you wonder if that influenced his art, you know?
I mean, think about it. Like, growing up in a place where there's this sudden influx of wealth and industry, this energy of expansion and ambition,
Yeah.
it must have had an impact on his worldview.
Yeah, totally. And there's the whole thing about like growing up near the Marland Estate
Oh, yeah.
and the Pioneer Woman statue. Those are kind of like these larger than life symbols, you know?
Right. Like these grand gestures,
Yeah.
these monuments to ambition and progress.
Exactly. And so maybe he was like reacting against that, or maybe he was inspired by it.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely interesting to think about.
Right. So then he goes on to study at the Kansas City Art Institute
Okay.
and gets this Fulbright scholarship to go to Italy.
Wow, that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, like imagine going from Oklahoma
Right.
straight to like the heart of European art.
Yeah, talk about a culture shock.
Right, exactly.
But also, like, what an amazing chance to immerse himself in art history.
Yeah, to be surrounded by all these masterpieces.
Right. And to learn from some of the best artists and teachers in the world.
Yeah, so he's teaching at universities for a while.
Seems like a pretty stable path, you know? But then in 1976, he just decides to become this nomadic artist.
Yeah. What do you think was behind that? Like what pushed him to make such a radical change?
Well, I mean, you've got to have a pretty deep dedication to your craft to just walk away from a steady job and a comfortable life.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he was willing to give up security for the freedom to create.
Right, to like really live his art.
Yeah, and I think that nomadic lifestyle probably had a huge influence on his work, too.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, he's traveling all over Italy, France, Ireland, even Mexico and the South Pacific,
Wow.
constantly encountering new cultures, new landscapes, new ways of seeing the world.
Yeah, it's like his canvas just expanded exponentially.
Exactly.
So if you've got these quotes here,
Yeah,
it's like getting these little glimpses into his mind, you know?
Yeah, they're pretty enigmatic,
Yeah, for sure.
but also really thought-provoking.
Right. And then we've got the biography, which gives us the timeline and the key events.
Right, the factual
Yeah,
backbone,
exactly.
and then the excerpts and reviews of his books.
Yeah, those are important too.
They provide that outside perspective, you know?
Right, like how did other people interpret his work?
Exactly, because with an artist like Camblin, who seems to have cultivated a certain mystery around himself,
Yeah.
it's crucial to consider how others understood his art.
Right. So one of the first things that really stuck out to me in his quotes was this idea of the perfectly average.
Oh, yeah, the Fridges thing.
Like he actually said he wanted to stick with common sense and the perfectly average view
Yeah.
so that he could enjoy the miracles on both sides of science and magic.
Huh.
And he wanted this intensely bright gray where they meet.
That's a pretty unique perspective.
Yeah. Well, what do you make of that?
Well, on the surface, it sounds almost like he's settling, you know?
Yeah.
Like he's not interested in extremes or pushing boundaries.
Right.
But I think it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he's rejecting this need for constant sensationalism or drama.
Yeah.
Like he sees a richness and a wonder in the everyday things that we often overlook.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And that bright gray he talks about,
Right.
it's not a dull compromise.
No.
It's like this vibrant intersection where the logical and the intuitive aren't at odds, but actually enhance each other.
Right. It's like he's finding this balance between those two worlds.
Exactly.
And then he's got this other quote that really stuck with me.
Okay.
Art is not just images, ... Art for art's sake has become art for life's sake, or art for my sake, or art for survival's sake.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, it's like he's saying that art is not just this detached aesthetic pursuit.
Right.
It's something much more personal and essential.
It's integrated into his very being.
Right, like it's necessary for him to survive.
And what's really fascinating is that implied evolution in his thinking.
Yeah, like how so?
Well, art for art's sake often suggests a focus on form and aesthetics,
Right.
a kind of detachment from everyday concerns.
Yeah.
But art for life's sake or for my sake points to something much more integrated. Like
Yeah.
art is serving a vital personal function. And then art for survival's sake. That almost hints at this primal need.
Yeah, like he needs art to breathe.
Exactly.
I think he's got this quote that's kind of wistful.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
Fortunately, some things remain forever. Or another 10 years, perhaps.
Yeah, there's this awareness of the fleeting nature of things.
Yeah.
This sense of impermanence.
Right, like nothing lasts forever.
Exactly. And it kind of makes you wonder what he considered to be those things that might remain forever.
Yeah, what were those precious few things?
Yeah.
And then there's this other idea that comes up a lot in his quotes.
Okay.
This need to step off the train of thought.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Like he actually uses that phrase, step off the train of thought.
Right.
And he says that's how you access true power and creativity.
It's such a vivid image.
Yeah.
What does that conjure up for you?
Well, for me, it's about quieting that constant mental chatter,
Right.
that stream of analysis and judgment that we all have going on in our heads.
Yeah.
It's about making space for intuition, for a fresh perspective.
Like our minds get stuck on these well-worn tracks of thought. And
Mhm.
to discover something truly original, we need to derail ourselves intentionally.
Exactly, and explore the territory beyond those familiar lines.
Right.
And I think that really connects with Zen philosophy.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, in Zen, there's this emphasis on emptying the mind
Right.
to achieve a state of clarity.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what Camblin is talking about here.
Yeah, by stepping away from logical thought,
Right.
you can tap into a deeper source of creativity
Yeah.
and power.
And he talks about the work that isn't work and the true laugh.
Right. It's like he's pointing towards this state of being that transcends effort and striving.
Yeah, and he's got this little anecdote that I love.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
He says, we talked of changing the world. He listened, then took 21 cents from his coin purse to pay for his coffee and left. ...
I like that.
Yeah, it's like he's bringing these grand ambitions
Right.
down to the level of everyday reality. And he's got this other quote about balancing and being for and against.
Yeah, that speaks to his embrace of duality.
Yeah.
Like he's not attached to one side or the other.
Right.
He's holding both perspectives.
And then he says, we missed the clouds and for a moment regretted it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like this reminder to stay open to those fleeting moments of beauty
Right.
that we might otherwise miss.
And then he contrasts that with the suddenness of insight.
Oh, yeah, right.
Then as lightning, the mind ripped out in flashes of variations to reach the still pond.
Yeah, it's like that moment of clarity after you step off the train of thought.
Right.
So let's talk about how his work was received.
Okay.
Because we've got some reviews here that are really insightful.
Yeah.
So the review of The Art of Everything talks about his art as questions disguised as images.
I like that.
Yeah, and it says that philosophy is this attempt to answer those questions,
Right.
but it's never quite complete.
It's an ongoing process.
Right. And so his artwork isn't like a definitive statement.
No.
It's more like an invitation to contemplate.
Right, like a visual koan.
Yeah, exactly.
Something to ponder.
And then the reviews of Zen and the Art of Enlightenment talk about this idea of everyday enlightenment, like
Right.
finding beauty in the absurd and accepting impermanence.
Yeah.
And it seems like that was really central to his whole approach to art and life.
It definitely echoes a lot of the themes we've been talking about.
Yeah, and it's not about achieving some distant state of enlightenment.
Right.
It's about shifting your perspective on the here and now.
Exactly.
And his art and his writing are like tools to help you do that.
Right, to disrupt those habitual thought patterns.
Yeah, to see the world with fresh eyes.
And then you've got this whole thing about him signing his work as Anonymous or Mr. Peanut.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
And he eventually withdrew from the art scene altogether. Like he was rejecting those traditional art world conventions.
Yeah, do you think it was a statement
Maybe.
or was it more personal?
It's hard to say, but it definitely adds to the mystery.
Right.
And that quote from Earl Staley about Camblin stopping giving away his treasures and moving on,
Yeah.
that really emphasizes this sense of detachment.
Right, like he was letting go of everything.
Exactly.
So I guess what we're left with is this sense that Bob Camblin wasn't about giving us answers.
Right.
He was about making us ask questions.
Yeah, Riddles disguised as structures.
Right.
Zen koans disguised as blueprint.
Exactly.
So hopefully this deep dive has sparked your own curiosity, encouraged you to look a little closer at things.
Right, and maybe even step off your own train of thought for a while.
Exactly.
So here's a final thought for you to consider.
Okay.
What seemingly ordinary aspects of your own life and understanding might be holding hidden wonders, just waiting for you to perceive them in a new light?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I have to think about that.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Yeah, this is great.
All right, see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.